All right, here we go with objective 31, determining the equation of a line in slope-intercept form using 2 points. So this is going to be a really useful skill. I'd say it's probably one of the most useful skills in this unit because we've talked about 2 different forms now, point-slope form and slope-intercept form. Point-slope form, of course, uses the point and the slope, where slope-intercept form uses the slope and the y-intercept. And we're not always going to be given both of those bits of information. Instead, we might be given just 2 random points on the line that aren't necessarily the y-intercept. So I just want to do a quick review. Point slope, the general form for point slope form is y minus y1 equals m, our slope, times x minus x1. The other form we talked about is slope-intercept form. And the general form for that is y equals mx plus b. So looking at this first one, here we have 2 points. We have 3, -5, -4, 8. Neither of these are the slope. These are 2 points. And then neither of these are the y-intercept. Remember, the y-intercept is where x equals 0. So that's in the form 0 and a number as an ordered pair. So in order to determine the equation, we have to, step 1, calculate the slope. And that's always going to be true. We're always going to have to find the slope. And just as a reminder, the formula for that is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So using these 2 points, let's find the slope. First, we have to label our points, so x1, y1, x2, y2. And we're going to plug it into our formula here. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So in order to find the slope, I'll start off by drawing in the fraction bar and my subtraction. And now we can just plug it in. y2 is 8. y1 is -5. So don't forget that negative. x2 is -4. And x1 is 3. Now we can evaluate. 8 minus -5, well, minus a negative, we've got a double negative, we can add a positive. So 8 plus +5 is 13. And then -4 minus 3 gives us -7. So our slope is -13/7. Step 2, once we found our slope, is to choose a point and plug in the slope and that point into point slope form. So choose a point. It doesn't matter which one. Let's choose this first one. So 3, -5. And plug in the slope, so this here, the -13/7, and this point into point slope form. So as a reminder, point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So we're just going to plug that into point slope form. So we have y minus, well, y1 is -5 equals our slope, so -13/7 times x minus x1, well, x1 is 3. All right, so now we've plugged it in. Our last step to convert into slope-intercept form from point slope form. Solve for y. And so everything about solving for y still holds true here. We're going to get y by itself. We're going to have the variables on one side, the y on one side, and everything else on the other side. So let's solve for y here. I see we have y minus -5. Again, that double negative. We can make it plus a positive, so y plus 5. And then this -13/7, we can distribute this. So -13/7 times x is just -13/7 x. And then -13/7 times -3, well, let's get our calculator for that. we have negative 13 sevenths. So I'm going to use that fraction bar. And we are multiplying by negative 3. And we get positive 39 sevenths. So plus 39 sevenths. All right, do we have y by itself? Not yet. So we've got a plus 5, so we got to subtract 5 from both sides. So on the left-hand side, we have just y. On the right-hand side, we have negative 13 sevenths x. And then 39 sevenths minus 5. Well, let's see what that is. Let's pull out our calculator again. So we already have 39 sevenths, so we're going to subtract 5. You can also type it in again, and that gives us 4 sevenths. And that's a positive 4 sevenths, so plus 4 sevenths. And here we go. We just double check. Is this in slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. It sure is. Where negative 13 sevenths is our slope, and our y-intercept is 4 sevenths. Let's try one more example. Determine the equation of a line in slope-intercept form through the points 4, negative 1, and negative 2, 6. So first, I'm going to write out our points again. So 4, negative 1, and negative 2, 6. And I'm going to label them x1, y1, x2, y2. Because step 1 is to calculate the slope. So we're going to use these labels to find the slope. So again, our slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I recommend writing out that formula each time. That way we can keep our terms straight. So we'll draw on our fraction bar and our subtraction, and then we'll just plug it in. So y2 is 6, y1 is negative 1, x2 is negative 2, and x1 is 4. We can evaluate, so we have 6 minus negative 1. We got that double negative again. So 6 plus positive 1 is 7. And then negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. So our slope is negative 7/6. So now we have our slope. We're going to choose a point, and we're going to plug it into point slope form. That's step 2. So point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So I'm just rewriting point slope form. Let's choose a point. I'll just choose that first one. So 4, negative 1. Again, you can choose this one here. When you simplify, you should get the same thing. So let's plug it in, our slope and our point. So we have y minus, well, y1 is negative 1. So we plug in negative 1 equals m, our slope, which is negative 7/6, times x minus x1. Well, x1 is 4. So we plug that in, and now we solve for y. So we have y minus negative 1, that double negative again. So we have y plus 1 equals, and then our negative 7/6, we can distribute that. So negative 7/6 times x is just negative 7/6x. And then negative 7/6 times negative 4, let's go ahead and plug that into our calculator. So we have negative 7/6, I'm going to use that fraction bar again. Negative 7/6 times negative 4. That gives us 14 thirds. So plus 14 thirds. One more step, we've got y plus 1, we want just y, so we have to subtract 1 from both sides. So we get y equals negative 7/6x, and then positive 14 thirds minus 1. Well, let's pull out our calculator. So minus 1. Again, you can type in 14 thirds again. That gives us 11 thirds. So we get plus 11 thirds. All right, and double check, is this in slope-intercept form? We have y equals mx plus b. That looks good. Our slope is negative 7/6. Our y-intercept is 11 thirds. All right, so we're going to get a whole lot of practice of this in class. So this has been Objective 31. So we'll study up, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day, everyone.